He shoved a pregnant woman so hard she could no longer walk. All because of a homemade banner welcoming her unborn son. Dressed in counterfeit authority and wearing a cold smirk, this self-proclaimed HOA officer believed no one would ever challenge his fake power. But he didn't count on her husband, a former Marine who knew exactly how to fight back. And what followed would change the neighborhood forever. Just over a year had passed since Cole and Hannah Dempsey moved into their modest ranch-style home nestled on the quiet fringe of Mesa, Arizona. The house wasn't much faded siding, an uneven walkway, a crooked mailbox Cole had promised to fix months ago, but it was theirs. Chosen not for glamour, but for peace. For the painted orange sunsets that melted into desert silence. For the space it offered after Cole's deployments and Hannah's sleepless nights of waiting, hoping. Cole, a Marine veteran with hands built for fixing what others discarded, had found calm under the hood of broken cars at a local shop. He spent his days replacing transmissions and mentoring high schoolers who needed more wrench time than lecture halls. Hannah was 7 months pregnant, her belly round, her steps deliberate, her smile softer than the dawn light. Her voice could silence a room, not because it was loud, but because it carried something rare, grace fused with steel. For a while, life was quiet. Simple. The neighbors waved. Kids rode bikes. But the illusion of tranquility shattered the day. A new HOA suddenly declared authority over their block. No vote. No discussion. Just a cheaply printed letter taped to every front door, stamped with a logo no one recognized and rules no one had agreed to. Most of the residents shrugged, muttered about just letting it go. But not Cole. He'd worn a real uniform. He knew power didn't need your permission to overstep. Saturday morning rolled in on a wave of sunlight, washing over the driveway, touching the gleam of Cole's old Dodge Challenger, a machine he'd rebuilt bolt by bolt. Hannah stood on the porch wearing his oversized flannel, one hand tucked under her belly, the other holding a mug of peppermint tea. Above her, hung between two hooks, flapped a simple felt banner. Welcome home, Jackson. Their son's name. Their future. That's when a matte black Ford Explorer rolled up. No city decals. No front plate. Just dark windows and a heavy wrongness in the air. Cole's shoulders tightened. He stepped off the porch as the doors opened, and 3 men emerged all in black tactical gear. No badges. No insignias. Just bold white letters reading, HOA Enforcement, like some cheap paramilitary costume. None of them smiled. The largest man, a brute with a blocky jaw and the build of an old refrigerator, barked. Violation of HOA Code 14B. That banner's a hazard. Take it down immediately. Cole squinted. That banner? It's made of felt. Weighs less than my coffee. You've been warned, the man snapped. Take it down or face penalties. On whose authority? Cole asked, stepping forward, palms open. Got a permit? A city order? Something real. No answer. Hannah stepped out, drawn by the noise. She glanced from Cole to the strangers, calm but wary. Then the big man moved. 1 step, then 2. He pointed at her like a target. Ma'am, you're obstructing enforcement procedure. Step aside. She barely had time to speak before his hand shoved her with brutal precision. A direct push. Not chaotic. Not clumsy. Cold. Intentional. Her balance broke. She fell, twisting, hitting the porch steps hard. A snap rang out sharp, horrible, final. Time halted. Cole dropped to his knees. Hannah, he whispered. Her eyes were wide with terror. Her hands reached, shaking. Her legs didn't move. That was the moment everything changed, not just for Cole, not just for Hannah, but for every quiet neighbor sipping coffee behind drawn curtains. The war had come home, and Cole Dempsey, once a husband, now again a soldier, stood at its front line. 17 minutes. That's how long it took the ambulance to arrive. Too long. Hannah didn't scream. Not when she fell. Not when her spine hit cold concrete. Not even when she realized her body was no longer hers. She trembled, but stayed silent. Her jaw clenched. She didn't want the baby to feel her fear. That was Hannah, always shielding others before herself. Cole held her hand as she gasped through the pain. Around them, the fake enforcers retreated like nothing had happened. The explorer backed out of the driveway, slowly. The big man glanced back with a smirk before the window slid up. Cole never forgot that smirk. He didn't chase them, didn't scream. He just stood jaw locked, hands clenched, something cracking deep inside. A fracture. The kind a soldier recognizes. The kind that signals a storm. At the hospital, sterile air and beeping monitors swallow the hours. Cole sat with his head bowed, listening to doctors speak in words meant to sound reassuring. But when the lead physician entered with a clipboard and a somber tone, Cole knew. Compression fracture, the doctor said. She's stable, but the damage is severe. Movement will be limited. Permanently. The baby? Cole asked. We're monitoring closely. No internal injury yet, but she'll need complete immobilization. Then came the part that shattered Cole's heart. She won't walk again. This wasn't an accident. Hannah hadn't slipped. She had been thrown. Her future ripped away by a man playing dress-up in tactical black. A man who decided a banner outweighed a woman's life. This wasn't about safety. It was about dominance. Cole had followed rules. In work, at home. But that faith had limits. And now, standing beside Hannah's hospital bed, watching her drift in a medicated sleep, Cole made a vow. This wouldn't stand. Outside in the corridor, he searched for the name he'd seen on that fake patch. HOA Enforcement, Arizona. A website popped up, barely functional. Stock images of men in tactical gear. No license. No real address. Just a P.O. box and a disconnected phone number. He dug deeper. County records. Local forum. Buried news clips. The ringleader? Brian Maddox. A disgraced night shift security guard, fired for excessive force, with charges ranging from impersonation to assault. Years ago, he tried to form a security firm. Failed. Then disappeared. Until now. Until he came back wrapped in fake authority. And now, Cole wasn't just angry. He was activated. The next morning, dressed in dark jeans and a gray jacket, Cole tucked his old Glock 19, the one he'd carried across 3 deployments, into a concealed holster. He drove to the address listed on their website. It wasn't a headquarters. It was a prefab shed in a rundown lot once used by a trucking company. The faded banner read, HOA Enforcement Unit by appointment only. Cole waited. At 7:41 a.m., the door opened. 3 men emerged. One was Maddox. Cole crossed the lot. He didn't knock. Didn't speak. He entered the office, moving like a shadow. No noise. No hesitation. Inside, the first man stirred coffee at a dusty counter. He turned too late. Cole's weapon struck hard. The man crumpled. The second reached for a sidearm. Cole slammed him into the table, disarming and disabling him in seconds. Then Maddox entered that same jaw, that same arrogance. You really think this is how it works? Maddox sneered, brandishing a baton. No, Cole said, voice like steel. This is how justice works. 1 shot to the shoulder, 1 to the leg. The third buried in the wall, an inch from Maddox's head. Silence. Then fear. Real fear. Cole dialed 911. My name is Cole Dempsey. I've disarmed 3 men impersonating law enforcement. I'm at 84 West Fremont. Send officers. When the police arrived, Cole placed his weapon gently on the ground, raised his hands, and surrendered. Because unlike the men inside, he respected the law. In court, the truth unraveled. HOA enforcement was a shell. No registration. No legal standing. Maddox had created a fraud shaking down homeowners with fabricated codes and compliance penalties. Fines had been laundered into personal accounts. The charges: criminal conspiracy, assault, impersonation. Hannah testified from a wheelchair. Calm. Clear. She didn't seek pity. Only change. She said, I'm not the first, but I want to be the last. Cole received 3 years probation. No regrets. He would have taken 10. Because Jackson was born safe. Hannah survived. And power false. Weaponized power had been exposed. Still, things weren't the same. Some neighbors whispered. Others turned away. One man muttered near the fruit stand, could have just filed a complaint. Cole didn't reply. Silence was enough. But over time, stories surfaced. A retired couple threatened over mailbox color. A mother fined for a playhouse. Slowly, heads lifted. Voices joined. At the final day of trial, the judge addressed the jury. The verdict, guilty on all counts. Maddox and his crew were cuffed and taken away stripped of illusion. As the doors closed, Hannah whispered to Cole, "We're free now." And Cole knew freedom didn't come from standing tall. Sometimes, it came from refusing to fall. 6 months later, under balloon arches and fairy lights, they celebrated Jackson's first birthday. Laughter echoed across the yard. Neighbors came. Even old Robert, voice trembling, handed Cole a gift. "I should have stood with you," he said. "But you reminded me who I used to be." That night, fireworks lit the sky in gentle bursts. Cole stood beside Hannah, hand resting on her shoulder, watching their son sleep. Above them, the old banner swayed again. "Welcome home, Jackson." But now it meant something more. Welcome to truth, to courage, to a home defended not by fear, but by honor.